Hello everybody, this is Refresh and I'm here to bring you a battle between the Magic the Gathering Clash Packs and the Battle of the Horde Challenge deck from Born of the Gods. We have the three Clash Packs assembled here. This is Fate and Fury, Power and Profit, Armed and Dangerous over there. We'll be playing 2 games against this challenge deck. First on normal difficulty with 3 turns before the Horde attacks and then on hard mode. And for these games we're going to be using 3 hero cards. The first one is the Harvester. It says tap, draw a card, then discard a card. Then we have the Explorer, which says you may play an additional land on each of your turns. And finally we have the Vanquisher, which says your starting hand size is increased by 1, your maximum hand size is increased by 1. Because I only have 1 copy of each of these cards, I'm going to be applying them to all 3 decks simultaneously. I should also mention that this is the final form of each Clash Pack. The 2 decks in each Clash Pack have been assembled into their ultimate deck as per the instructions given in each Clash Pack. We'll go ahead and get started by drawing our opening hands. Fate and Fury has a Nemesis of Mortals, Elvish Mystic, Nessian Game Warden, Nessian Courser, Karametra's Acolyte, Hypnotic Siren, Karametra's Acolyte, and Cura's Follower. Zero Lander is a no keep. We're going to go ahead and mulligan, and because this is multiplayer, we're going to get 1 free mulligan. Fate and Fury draw a Forest, Cura's Follower, Nessian Game Warden, Forest, Fated Intervention, Prognostic Sphinx, Arbor Colossus, and Cura's Follower. We have 2 forests and no blue mana to cast any of the blue spells, and then nothing in the middle in terms of the mana curve. So I think this is also important to mulligan again to get the right distribution of lands and creatures. So we'll mulligan down to 7. Now we have an Island, Genesis Hydra, Karametra's Acolyte, Elvish Mystic, Karametra's Acolyte, Forest, Forest, and Forest. I think that this is an acceptable first hand. Although it is a little slow, we'll take 1 of these Karametra's Acolytes and stick them on the bottom. Power and Profit, draw a Whip of Erebos, Debilitating Injury, Scuttling Doom Engine, Forest, Opulent Palace, Nemesis of Mortals, Opulent Palace, and Swamp. It's not a great hand, but I think it is a keepable one for now. Armed and Dangerous draws a Blossoming Sands, Dragon Hunter, Cash Defenses, Citadel Castellon, Valorous Stance, Plains, Forest, and Jungle Hollow. I think that this is an acceptable first hand, so we will keep it. Because this is multiplayer, we'll draw on our opening turns. Fate and Fury draws a Horizon Chimera. Power and Profit draws an Eidolon of Blossoms. Armed and Dangerous draws a Pacifism. Fate and Fury will play a Forest and an Island. We'll tap the Forest and play an Elvish Mystic. This is a 1/1 Elf Druid. You can tap it to add green to your mana pool. Power and Profit will play 2 Opulent Palaces. They are lands that enter the battlefield tapped, and you can tap them to add black, green, or blue to your mana pool. Armed and Dangerous will play a Jungle Hollow. It's a land that enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. You can add black or green to your mana pool. We'll gain 1 life to go up to 21. We'll also play the Plains. We'll tap the Plains and we'll play the Dragon Hunter. This is a 2/1 human warrior with protection from dragons. It can block dragons as though it has reach, and then we will go to our end step. We'll use the Harvester. Fate draws a Nemesis of Mortals, and we will discard Nemesis of Mortals. Power draws a Font of Fertility, and we will discard the Debilitating Injury. Armed draws a Lightwalker, and we'll discard the Pacifism. We'll untap. Fate and Fury draws a Nemesis of Mortals. Power and Profit draws a Doomwake Giant. Armed and Dangerous draws a Dromoka Warrior. Fate and Fury will play 2 more Forests. We'll tap out. Cast Nemesis of Mortals. This is a 5/5 snake. It costs 1 less to cast for each creature card in your graveyard, and for 7 green monstrosity 5, it costs 1 less to activate for each creature card in your graveyard. We have 1 creature card in the graveyard, so we can cast it for 5. Power and Profit will play a Swamp and a Forest. We'll tap everything. And we'll cast the Eidolon of Blossoms. It's a 2/2 enchantment spirit, and whenever it or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. We'll draw a card. We get a Murderous Cut. Armed and Dangerous will play a Blossoming Sands. It's a land that enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. You can tap for green or white. We gain a life to go up to 22. We'll also play a Forest. We'll tap the remaining lands. And cast a Citadel Castellon. It's a 2/3 human knight with Vigilance and Renowned 2. We'll go to combat and we'll swing with the Dragon Hunter into the Horde. The Horde mills 2. We'll end the turn by using the Harvester. Fate and Fury draws a Karametra's Acolyte, and we'll discard one of the Karametra's Acolytes. Power and Profit draws a Forest, and we will discard the Murderous Cut. Armed and Dangerous draws a Dromoka's Command, and we will discard the Lightwalker. We'll untap. Fate and Fury draws a Hydra Broodmaster. Power and Profit draws a Satyr Wayfinder. Armed and Dangerous draws a Forest. We'll go to combat and attack with everything. The Horde takes 12 damage. The Horde mills a Refreshing Elixir. It says when it is put into a graveyard from anywhere, each player gains 5 life. We'll be gaining 15 life to take us up to 37. The Castellan triggers Renown, becoming a 4/5. Fate and Fury will tap out. We'll cast the Karametra's Acolyte. This is a 1/4 human druid. You can tap it to add amount of green to your mana pool equal to your devotion to green. Our devotion currently is 4. Power and Profit will play a Forest. We'll spend 5 mana. Cast the Doomwake Giant. It's a 4/6 enchantment giant. When it or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, creatures your opponents control get -1/-1 until end of turn. Armed and Dangerous plays a Forest. We'll spend 2 mana and cast the Dromoka Warrior. This is a 3/1 human warrior. We'll pass to the Horde. The Horde will cast the top 3 cards. We have a Minotaur Younghorn, the 2/2 Minotaur with haste and attacks each turn if able. We have a Refreshing Elixir. At the beginning of the Horde's pre-combat main phase, reveal an additional card from the top of the Horde's library. The Horde casts that card. And then we have another Minotaur Younghorn. These 2 will attack. They'll be blocked by the Citadel Castellan and the Doomwake Giant, and they'll both pass away. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Fate and Fury draw a Voyaging Satyr, and they will discard the Voyaging Satyr. Power and Profit draw an island, and they will discard the Satyr Wayfinder. Armed and Dangerous draws a Citadel Siege, and will discard the Cached Defenses. We'll untap. Fate and Fury draws a Courser of Crufix. Power and Profit draws a Forest. Armed and Dangerous draws a Collected Company. Armed and Dangerous will spend 4 mana and cast Citadel Siege. This is an enchantment. As it enters the battlefield, choose Cons or Dragons. Cons, at the beginning of combat on your turn, put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature you control. For Dragons, at the beginning of combat on each opponent's turn, tap target creature that player controls. We'll choose Cons. We'll go to combat. We'll put 2 +1/+1 counters on the Dromoka Warrior, and we will attack with everybody except for the Acolyte and the Elvish Mystic. That's 22 damage. We mill an Altar of Mogus. It says when it's put into a graveyard from anywhere, the Horde sacrifices 2 Minotaurs. It has no Minotaurs to sacrifice. We hit a Vitality Salve. It says when it's put into a graveyard from anywhere, each player returns a creature card from his or her graveyard to the battlefield. While that's on the stack, we're going to use the Harvester. Fate will draw a Prophet of Crufix, and then we will discard the Hydra Broodmaster. Power will draw an island, and will discard the Scuttling Doom Engine. Armed will draw an Honored Hierarch, and will discard that. The Vitality Salve resolves, and we will return the Hydra Broodmaster to the battlefield. This is a 7/7 Hydra with XX green monstrosity X, and when it becomes monstrous, put XXX green Hydra creature tokens onto the battlefield. Scuttling Doom Engine enters the battlefield. This is a 6/6 artifact construct. It can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, and when it dies, it deals 6 damage to our target opponent. We should have also drawn a card from the Doomwake Giant entering the battlefield, and so we'll go ahead and do that now. Picking up a Nyx Weaver. Armed and Dangerous will put an Honored Hierarch into the battlefield. This is a 1/1 human druid with Renowned 1, and as long as it has Renowned, it has Vigilance, and you can add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. We hit a Plundered Statue, which says when it's put into a graveyard from anywhere, each player draws a card. Fate and Fury draw a Kiora's Follower. Power and Profit draw a Satyr Wayfinder. Armed and Dangerous draws an Ultimate Price. Then on the second main, we'll tap 3 green mana and cast the Courser of Crufix. This is a 2/4 enchantment centaur. When play with top card of your library revealed, You may play the top card of your library if it's a land card, and whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. Reveal the top card, and it is a Voyaging Satyr, not a land. We'll tap the Karametra's Acolyte for 8 green mana and the island, and then we'll spend 5 of the 9 mana for Prophet of Krufix. This is a 2/3 human wizard. Untap all creatures and lands you control during each player's untap step, and you may cast creature cards as though they had flash. We have 4 green mana remaining, and we'll just leave that mana for now. Power will play a forest and an island. We'll spend 3 mana to cast the Nyx Weaver. This is a 2/3 enchantment spider, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you put the top 2 cards of the library in your graveyard, and for 1 black and green, you can exile to return a card from your graveyard to your hand. Because we played an enchantment, the opponent will get -1/-1 to all their creatures, and will draw a card. The card we draw is a forest, and with the remaining mana, we'll tap everything. Cast the Whip of Erebos. This is a legendary enchantment artifact, and creatures you control have lifelink. You can pay 2 black and tap it to return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Exile it at the beginning of the next end step. If it would leave the battlefield, exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. Activate this ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery. Because we cast another enchantment, we'll draw a card. We have an Evolving Wilds. We'll pass the turn to the Horde. We'll cast the top 5 cards. We have a Minotaur Goreseeker. It's a 3/2 Minotaur with haste, and it can attack each turn if able. We also have a Minotaur Younghorn, a Intervention of Karanos. This is a sorcery. At the beginning of combat on this turn, it deals 3 damage to each creature. We have a Phobos Reaver. It is a 2/3 Minotaur with haste and attacks each turn if able. And a Mogus is Chosen. It's a 5/4 Minotaur, enters the battlefield tapped, and it attacks each turn if able. We should have untapped everything because of the Prophet of Krufix, so everything is untapped. Before the Intervention of Karanos resolves, we'll go ahead and tap the Karametra's Acolyte and the Elvish Mystic for 10 green mana, and we'll tap all of the remaining mana here as well for 13 green mana and 1 blue mana, and we'll cast Genesis Hydra, where X is 12. This is a 0/0 plant Hydra. When you cast Genesis Hydra, reveal the top X cards of your library. You may put a non-land permanent with a converted mana cost X or less from among them onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library because and it enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters, so that would be 12 +1/+1 counters. We'll look at the top 12 cards of the library. We have a Forest, Island, Forest, Nessian Game Warden, Font of Fertility, Forest, Divination, Aether Spouts, Horizon Chimera, Forest, and Voyaging Satyr. I think this is an easy Nessian Game Warden that we'll be putting on the battlefield. We'll shuffle our library. Nessian Game Warden is a 4/5 beast. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of forests you control, and you may reveal a creature card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. We'll look at the top 3 cards, and we will put the Curious Follower into our hand, and then put the rest on the bottom. Then the Intervention of Karanos will resolve, and it will kill the Goreseeker, the Younghorn, and the Phobos Reaver. It will also kill the Prophet of Krufix, the Elvish Mystic, the Eidolon of Blossoms, and the Nyx Weaver, the Honored Hierarch, the Dromoko Warrior, and the Dragon Hunter. And the Horde's turn will end. We'll untap. Fading Fury draws a Forest. Power and Prophet draws a Sultai Charm. Armed and Dangerous draws a Pacifism. I think we should have this, so we're going to attack with everybody except for the Hydra Broodmaster. That's 38 damage. Horde mills a Plundered Statue. Fate draws an Island. Power draws a Forest. Armed draws an Undercity Troll. The Horde mills a Massacre Totem. When it's put into a graveyard from anywhere, put the top 7 cards of the Horde's library into its graveyard. It doesn't have any library to put into its graveyard, and so it is out of cards. We still haven't won yet because the Mogus is Chosen is there. So we're just going to pass the turn to the Horde. The Horde will untap and then swing its Mogus is Chosen into the Hydra Broodmaster, and it will perish there. And the Clash Packs defeat the Horde pretty easily. We'll be right back for hard mode. We're doing some quick sideboarding. Fate and Fury will remove the Hypnotic Siren, Aether Spouts, and Curse of the Swine and replace it with Nylea's Disciple and 2 Reclamation Sages. Power and Profit will remove the Debilitating Injury and 2 Brain Maggots and replace it with a Naturalized Grave Robber Spider and Reviving Melody. Armed and Dangerous will remove 2 Part Pacifisms, 2 Ultimate Prices, and a Feat of Resistance and replace it with 2 Absent Falconers, an Absent Battle Priest, a Scale Blessing, and an Elite Scale Guard. It's time for hard mode. We only have 2 turns before the Horde attacks, and we'll go ahead and draw our opening hands. Fate and Fury draw a Horde Rising Chimera, Forest, Arbor Colossus, Curious Follower, Divination, Karametra's Acolyte, Prophet of Krufix, and Elvish Mystic. We're not going to keep a 1-lander, and so we're going to mulligan using our free mulligan. Now we have a Karametra's Acolyte, Courser of Krufix, Prophet of Krufix, Font of Fertility, Temple of Mystery, Island, Nylea's Disciple, and Nemesis of Mortals. I don't like a 2-lander, but I guess we can try to get there with the Font of Fertility. Power and Profit, draw a Dreamwake Giant, Courser of Krufix, Swamp, Commune with the Gods, Hero's Downfall, Forest, Sultai Soothsayer, and Swamp. It's not an ideal hand, but I think we can make do with it. Armed and Dangerous, draw an Incremental Growth, Scale Blessing, Seeker of the Way, Dromoka the Eternal, Avatar the Resolute, Sandstep Citadel, Lightwalker, and Plains. It's not great with such a weak first hand, but I think we're going to keep it rather than mulliganing. Fate and Fury, draw an Island. Power and Profit, draw an Opulent Palace. Armed and Dangerous draws a Blossoming Sands. We'll start the first turn with Fate and Fury playing a Temple of Mystery. So land it enters battlefield, tap. When it enters battlefield, scry 1. You can tap for green or blue. We'll scry, we reveal a forest, and we'll actually leave that there because we need a forest. We'll also play an island. Power will play an Opulent Palace and a forest. Armed and Dangerous will play the Sandstep Citadel. This is land, it enters battlefield, tap. And you can tap it for white, black, or green. We'll also play a Blossoming Sands. We'll get a life to go up to 21. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Fate draws a forest, and we will discard the Nylea's Disciple. Power draws an Opulent Palace, and we will discard the Hero's Downfall. Armed draws a Scoured Barrens, and we will discard the Incremental Growth. We'll untap. Fate draws a forest. Power draws a Sultai Ascendancy. Armed draws a Dragon Hunter. Fate and Fury will play a forest, and we'll tap everything to cast a Courser of Krufix. We'll reveal the top card, and it's a land. We'll play the forest off the top. We'll gain another life to go up to 22. We'll reveal the next card, which is a Reclamation Sage. We'll tap the forest to play the Font of Fertility. This is a enchantment. You can pay 1 green and sack it to search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield, tapped, and then shuffle your library. Power will play a swamp. We'll tap out to cast a Courser of Krufix. We'll reveal the top card, which is the forest. We'll play the forest. We'll get a life to go up to 23. We'll reveal the top card, which is a Night Howler. Armed will play a Plains and a Scoured Barrens. Scoured Barrens enter the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. You can tap it for white or black. We'll gain a life to go up to 24. We'll spend 1 mana to cast a Dragon Hunter, and another 2 mana to cast the Seeker of the Way. This is a 2/2 human warrior with prowess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it gains lifelink until end of turn. We'll pass to the Horde, who will cast the top 4 cards. They cast a Reckless Minotaur. This is a 4/1 Minotaur with haste. It attacks each turn of Fable. At the beginning of the end step, destroy it. A Minotaur Younghorn, a Minotaur Goreseeker, and a Minotaur Younghorn. These will attack. We'll block the Goreseeker with the Courser of Krufix, a Younghorn with the Courser of Krufix, and we'll let the other 6 damage through, taking us down to 18. The Goreseeker and a Younghorn will die, and the Reckless Minotaur will die at the end of the turn as well. We'll use the Harvester at the end of the turn. Fate draws a Rex Sage, and we will discard the Nemesis of Mortals. Power draws a Night Howler, and we'll discard the Commune with Gods. Armed draws a Siege Rhino, and we'll discard the Lightwalker. We'll untap. Fate draws a Forest. Power draws a Naturalize. Armed draws a Plains. Fate will play the forest off the library, gaining a life to go up to 19. We'll play another forest, gaining a life to go up to 20. We'll spend 5 mana and cast a Prophet of Krufix. Power will play the Forest, gaining a life and taking us up to 21. We'll play an Opulent Palace tapped, which will get us another life to take us up to 22. We'll tap 5 mana, cast another Doomwake Giant. The Minotaur is a 1/1. Armed will play the Plains, and we'll tap out. And we'll cast Dramoka the Eternal. This is a 5/5 legendary dragon with flying, and whenever a dragon you control attacks, bolster 2. We'll go to combat. We'll attack with everything that can attack. That's 8 damage. We'll go to the end step, untapping everything for Fate and Fury. The Horde will untap, and then we'll cast the top 4 cards. We have a Minotaur Goreseeker, a Plundered Statue. At the beginning of the Horde's pre-combat main phase, reveal an additional card from the top of the Horde's library. The Horde casts that card. A Massacre Totem. At the beginning of the Horde's pre-combat main phase, reveal an additional card from the top of the Horde's library. The Horde casts that card. And a Consuming Rage. Whenever a Minotaur attacks this turn, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Destroy that creature at the end of combat. We'll spend 3 mana right now to flash in the Reclamation Sage. This is a 2/1 Elf Shaman. When it enters the battlefield, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment. We will destroy the Plundered Statue. Fate draws an Arbor Colossus. Power draws a Sultai Soothsayer. Armed draws a Lightwalker. These two will attack as a 4/2 and a 5/2. We'll block the 4/2 with the Doomwake Giant. We'll take 5 to go down to 17. The Minotaur Younghorn perishes, and the Minotaur Goreseeker will also die. Before the end of the turn, we will tap 2 more mana and use the Font of Fertility. We will grab a forest and put it onto the battlefield tapped. We'll gain a life for that. Going back up to 18, we'll shuffle. We'll use the Harvester at the end of the turn. Fate draws a Nemesis of Mortals, and we'll discard an island. Power draws a Jungle Hollow, and we will discard the Sultai Ascendancy. Armed draws a Cached Defenses, and we'll discard the Cached Defenses. We'll untap. Fate draws an Elvish Mystic. Power draws Sultai Charm. Armed draws an Evolving Wilds. Power will tap 2 mana and cast Naturalize. This is an instant. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. We'll choose to destroy the Massacre Totem. We'll mill 7. We hit a Vitality Salve. We'll use the same trick as before, and we will use the Harvester. Fate will draw the Voyaging Satyr and will discard the Arbor Colossus. Power will draw the Commune with the Gods, and we will discard a Sultai Soothsayer. Armed will draw a Honored Hierarch and will discard the Siege Rhino. The Vitality Salve resolves, and Fate will put the Arbor Colossus onto the battlefield. This is a 6/6 giant with reach, and for 3 green, monstrosity 3. When it becomes monstrous, destroy target creature with flying and opponent controls. Power puts the Sultai Soothsayer into the battlefield. It is a 2/5 Naga Shaman. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. We look at a Murder's Cut, Eidolon of Blossoms, Murder's Cut, and Monastery Seats. The Eidolon of Blossoms is the best. We'll put that in our hand and put the rest in the graveyard. Armed will put the Siege Rhino onto the battlefield. This is a 4/5 Rhino with Trample. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. We go back up to 21. And the Horde will mill 3 more. They also mill a Refreshing Elixir. We'll gain another 15 life to go up to 36. That's the end of that. We're going to go to combat, and we will swing with everybody that can attack. Dramoka will trigger, putting 2 +1/+1 counters on the Dragon Hunter. That's 23 damage to the Horde. The Horde mills an Altar of Mogus. It has no effect. Horde mills a Plundered Statue. Fate draws a Nessian Game Warden. Power draws a Sultai Charm. Armed draws a Forest. Fate will play the island off the top, getting another life to go up to 37. Play the Forest off the top to get another life to go up to 38. We'll tap 5 mana to cast a Nessian Game Warden. reveal the top 5 cards. We have an Elvish Mystic, Island, Kira's Follower, and Karametra's Acolyte. And an island, we'll go ahead and put the Karametra's Acolyte into our hand. And then we'll put the rest on the bottom. We'll spend 2 more mana. Cast a Voyaging Satyr. This is a 1/2 Satyr Druid. You can tap it to untap target land. We'll spend 1 final mana to cast the Elvish Mystic. Prophet will play the Jungle Hollow. He'll gain 1 life plus another life off the Courser Crucifix to gain 2 life. We'll also play a Swamp to get 3 life total. That takes us up to 41. We'll spend 4 mana to cast the Eidolon of Blossoms. We'll draw the top card, which is Satyr Wayfinder. We'll spend 2 more mana to cast Commune with the Gods. This is a sorcery. Reveal the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a creature or enchantment card from among them into your hand. Put the rest into your graveyard. We have a Necropolis Fiend, Whip of Erebos, Grave Arbor Spider, Forest, and we will take the Necropolis Fiend and put it into our hand and put the rest in the graveyard. Armed will play a Forest, and then we'll play an Evolving Wilds. It's a land. You can tap it and sacrifice it to search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. We'll go ahead and immediately do that right now. Go ahead and grab another Forest. Then we'll shuffle. We'll tap a green mana to play the Honored Hierarch, and then we'll tap a white to play the Lightwalker. It's a 2/1 human warrior, and it has flying as long as it has a +1/+1 counter on it. Just hold the rest for now, because there's no need to get into it. Pass the turn to the Horde. The Horde will cast the top 4 cards. We have a Minotaur Younghorn, a Refreshing Elixir, a Minotaur Gore Seeker, and a Minotaur Younghorn. These 3 will attack. The Gore Seeker will run into the Arbor Colossus and perish. One of the Younghorns will run into the Sultai Soothsayer and perish. And the last one will run into the Siege Rhino and perish. We should have untapped all of Fading Furies, so we'll go ahead and do that now. And then on the off turn, we'll tap 8 mana and cast 2 Karametra's Acolytes. We'll untap. Fate draws a Karametra's Acolyte. Power draws a Nemesis. Arms draws a Blossoming Sands. This is easy from here on forth, so we'll attack with all the non-mana generating creatures. We'll use the Bolster ability to put 2 +1/+1 counters on the Lightwalker. I don't even need a count to know that this is enough to defeat the Horde. There are only 7 cards left, and so the Clash packs in their final forms defeat the Horde in street sets fairly easily. This was some powerful plays by the Clash packs here. Let me know what you thought about the games in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of my videos, you can subscribe. This was Refresh. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.